Hello, monks and mamas of the mighty Copperbelt University. I'm your host, Musonda, Bigwaz, 5th year aeronautical engineering. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Change Your Perspective podcast. So, today we have a very special guest. We have a thought leader, a spiritual leader, and a trailblazer as well. With me, I have Mr. Kundananji Simbeye. It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we are in the habit of getting into the minds of those people who are breaking barriers in their fields, who are doing very exceptional things, and Mr. Kundananji Simbeye is one of them, actually. So with that being said, let's not waste too much time. Let us get into the conversation.
True.
Yeah, so just for starters, Mr. Kundananji, just let the people in on who you are. We're going to start from the very genesis, where you were born. Let's get back to the things that made you who you are. So yeah, let's get into that conversation.
Okay. From the introductions, I think we get it. Yes. I'm Kundananji. I was born in Ndola, New Mushili. I don't know most people from Ndola. I'm sure you know about that area. Yeah, that's where I was born. From I think that was that was in 2002.
Yeah.
Stayed there until I was like 18 when I came to CBU. Yeah. From where I am and from where I'm coming from, as you grow, you begin to see that dots are connecting. And firstly, I would like to I'm so grateful for the kind of environment my parents created for me. I think we underestimate the impact our parents and our families have on our growth generally and who we turn out to be in life. Thank God. For me, they created that spiritual atmosphere for me, and it was easier for me to thrive in spiritual things, even though as I grew up, sometimes a son goes prodigal, you become a prodigal son, but from there, you get back on the path and you begin to grow from there. Otherwise, every journey has been a learning curve. Yes.
That's interesting. So now tell me, your family, your siblings, how many are you?
We are 5. I've got 4 siblings, 1 sister and 3 brothers.
How was it growing up with brothers?
Well, all I can say, you have to be strong mentally.
Yeah,
you have to be strong mentally. Growing up in a masculine environment helps you toughen up when it comes to issues of life. Like you don't just cry because they beat you or you took your food. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you.
Yeah, so that really helped me. Even I think also being around other guys, that really helped me because I learned a lot from my older brother and just the environment he was able to create for me and the things he used to teach me.
Okay, that's good. What schools did you attend growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, from nursery to I think grade 6, I was at Rejoice Alinafe Trust School, and then from grade 6 to like grade 7, I was at Ndola Primary. Then from there I went to Kanini in grade 8. That's where I did from grade 8 to grade 12. Yeah.
You're also one of those people who's like moved from school to school to school. Because for me, if I tell you the number of schools I've been to, so like from nursery up to grade 1, grade 1, 2, 3, somewhere there. I can't remember. I was at Zoa Academy in Livingston.
Okay.
Then I moved to Vision Primary. You see, then we moved to Choma. In Choma, I attended Faithwood. It was called Faithwood School. And then shortly, I attended River Jordan School. We go to one side. I attended
those Christian schools.
Yeah, they were Christian schools. Actually, Faithwood and River Jordan are actually Christian academies. Okay. Yeah, I did like primary school. It was like Zoa Academy. That was the first one, and then River Jordan. That was the second one, and then Faithwood. So I've also just like moved from school to school until the time I reached like grade 8. That's where I went to David County, and that's how come like I finished like from grade 8 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's exciting. I always say because I moved to like from school to school, it allowed for me to actually be able to adapt to people. I don't think I'm very scared to talk to people because I've been put in different environments.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very necessary skill for everyone there.
Very true. I think most people need to learn that art to be able to adapt in every environment they work in.
Yeah.
And I've also heard, I'm sure you used to move from place to place.
If I just tell you the number of places we moved in,
Yeah.
it's a story. Because I started in Livingston. I was born and bred from Livingston, so I represent Livingston.
Okay.
Livingston is my hood. When I say I represent your hood, it's Livingston.
Okay.
So from Livingston we moved to Choma. From Choma we moved to Mansa. From Mansa we moved to Pemba. Pemba we moved to Lusaka. So
where's Pemba?
Pemba is in just southern province.
Oh,
Closer
okay.
to Item. Closer to Choma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So because of that, it allowed for me to just to explore many different cultures.
Yeah.
And I think it's made me a loving person, so I can conversate with anyone, I can talk to anyone. I feel for every type of person just because of like the movements that happened when I was growing up.
I get you.
Mhm.
I get you. I think exposure is really important, you know.
Yeah. It's very important. I've gotten to see and learn so many things. I'm not even going to lie to you. So many things. It's made me who I am today.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's interesting to know that you did your schools from many different places. Yeah. Now let's come. We're going step by step. We're building a foundation so that the people can actually see you in a different light.
Yeah.
They can change the way they see you. You know, change your perspective. You get it?
Of course. I like that.
Yeah. So
I like that.
we're going step by step.
Yeah.
So after school, what happened? Did you dive into university? Did you take a gap year? What did you do after school?
Okay, so I finished school in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Actually took a very long, I think 2 gap years, you know. That was 2019. 2020, that's when, like, in October, that's when I came for school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when I finished school, really, even while I was still in school, you know, my mom is a businesswoman, so she used to run a couple of businesses. So we specifically had a hardware shop. So when I finished school, we jumped into the gap year, but it really didn't feel like that. I felt like I entered the workforce, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she just said, you will now be going to the shop and be taking care of things, because even when I was in school, sometimes on weekends I would go there. So it was really, I really never had that time. Maybe for some people who on their gap year, like, oh, just to relax, to watch movies. Of course, maybe I was watching movies.
1 or 2.
Yeah, but I was working somewhere, you know. I was doing something with my hands. And yeah, from there, in my gap year, from working in my mom's shop, I started working. There's a friend of mine I had in school. His name is Chimomwe. The mom had a company, and like they were contracting people, so I worked for her for about a month until my dad told me that I want you to start working where I work. So I was also given a contract, and and I feel like while I was there, there's a way it began to shape me. And
So how old were you when you were working like this?
I was like 17 years.
For?
Yeah.
It's interesting to know that a 17-year-old can be trusted with such responsibilities.
Yeah, you know, training in responsibility starts at a young age. So I think that was that for me, you know, like, and I think also sometimes it's the kind of, I can say, the grace God has given you, where people can entrust you with certain things, and apparently God gives you the strength to deliver, you know. I think I can, that's what I can say.
Yeah, no, it's good. So you started working with your dad, and then from there, what happened?
Okay, so finished my last paper December, worked in my mom's shop. Till January, February, I worked my friend's company.
What were you doing there?
So they were subcontracted by Zambia Breweries. So basically, we were like a helping hand. So if Zambia Breweries want to clean certain things, would be the one, more like a general worker. Then from there, in March, that's when now I had the contract where my dad works. I think it was about a 3 months contract. And I started working there. Then after that, I stayed a bit at home, but that's where I had already picked up that a certain work ethic.
Yeah.
So even while I was at home, I started gardening, you know, like just to keep myself busy. But
Yeah.
I told my mom I want to start going to the shop again because I'm not doing anything at home. And I continued.
Yeah.
2020 January, I again had another job. An opportunity to work for Zambia Statistical Agency as a census mapper.
Yeah.
And it was such an amazing experience, you know. So it's been like that, just working, you know. I think it's something that I enjoy, you know.
That's good. I like that you've dived into all these little things, because people will look at you now and see this man who's looking old dapper. By the way, you look really good. You look very smart.
You actually look cool.
Thank you so much.
I like your
Thank you so much. We gotta represent.
We gotta represent.
No, but yeah, no, it's important. People will see you like this, but they won't know the story behind you. They won't know that you actually did these things. You worked for Zambia breweries. You worked with your dad. You worked with your mom.
Yeah.
You worked with your friend's mom. And
Yeah.
all these things are things that people just don't pay attention to, but they are part of who you are. They are part of your story.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think let's now move on. Yeah. So you are a census mapper. You are talking about that. How is the experience as a census mapper?
You know, I think being a census mapper paved the way for me to be effective in door-to-door evangelism. You know.
Yeah.
And just a funny fact. While I was doing this census mapping, I actually
wait, pause. Is it a funny fact or fun fact? It's not a funny fact, it's a fun fact.
Whatever it is, potato, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually met someone. Yeah, and from the same door-to-door census mapping issue, because what would happen is that the way we would do it is that we would be given maps and then we'd go and talk to people.
Yeah.
So like you go to this house, maybe they've given you a route. Go to this house, you put in the GPS scanner to point where you're at. You get the details of the house, like the house number, the head of the house, and if there are any other houses there. Yeah. So as we were doing those, I actually met someone who later turned on to be my girlfriend, just from this same thing. We're no longer together, but you know, that's the fun fact, as you put it.
Fun fact, not funny fact. So sad.
As you put it, you know. Yeah. And it was, like I said, it really paved the way of how I'm able to do door-to-door evangelism, because it required you to be very confident. Also, you had to know what you're talking about. And it was that time they were doing this thing for casting in the Copperbelt. So people are a bit skeptical. You know what I'm saying? So, because every time you enter here, the people would think maybe you're just being a disguise of those people who are doing the filming and the like. So you had to be there and you had to speak in a way that people would really trust you, that you are the staff and you've come to do your job there. But funny thing, when people know about you, they'll actually even be supporting you when you enter maybe a neighborhood. There's a neighborhood we did Kantolomba in Dola. It's one hell of a place, you know. So, but being there, we did some houses, and now people started even telling their neighbors, "Oh, now we saw our census." So just be open. There was some songs, you know. So it was really.
It has reminded me of one audio I had. These guys who came from Zesco, they were putting a meter number, the entrance for special numbers.
Exactly.
Me, I didn't believe them, right? I was home alone. I was the man of the house at that point. So these people come by the gate. They don't get that. So some pick up my number. I'm like, yeah, Shani. So me, I'm learning, right? I'm like, no, the managing director for Zesco hasn't issued the notice for people coming. And then I spoke all this English, and then they looked at me like, okay, sharp. They went. I even called who did I call? I called Zesco call center. I called them, and they explained to me all these people. Now I had to go follow them to call them back.
That's a wise move, you know.
I had to follow them, and now they just looked at me at one more. I understand how challenging it can be going door to door. I actually do understand that.
And I think this is something we can learn for those people who are doing like sales, you know. Like it really, there's a way. I think it opened me up to talk to strangers. I'm not scared to talk to strangers.
Now that is a very important quality. That is very important quality.
Yeah.
Okay, no, so that's good. So you did the census mapping, yeah? So I'm assuming that was around the time you started you came to CBU.
No, that was actually way before, but it was in the same year.
Yeah.
So in CBU, I came in 2020 October.
Okay.
Census mapping was around 2020 January and February, around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, so, friends, as some of you may know, some of you may not know, my brother here, Mr. Kundananji Simbeye, is not only a student at the Copperbelt University, he is also a leader. Now, he leads many departments under his church, the Household of Faith Church.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like to call him a spiritual leader because he leads also in that vein, you know. So now, I want to just delve into the spiritual side of your life, because I understand it's now a big part of you. It's now something that you walk in every day,
yes,
every second. So how was your journey in faith? When was the moment you realized, like, okay, I need to become serious with these things? Because I know there are many students out there, many people out there at large who are just wondering, like, how do I start this journey of walking with God? So I want you to run me through that story of how you started.
Okay, I think at some point every person will have the question of purpose in their hearts. Like, there will be a question where you ask yourself, what am I called to do on this earth?
Yeah.
You have that question. For me, I think that started early. Because you see, sometimes when you're in an environment like school, mostly you're just going by what everyone is doing. There's no, like, you haven't really identified yourself, like, okay, this is the kind of person I am and the like. So for me, it was actually when I finished school, 2018 December, you know, all of a sudden when we entered 2019, it's like some friendships that I had, we couldn't communicate like that, you know. But then I started trying to get to know who I am, and I discovered that I actually don't know a lot about myself. Everything that I knew about myself was maybe a personality that I saw in a friend, and I wanted to be that, you know. So that question, and there was this around that time, I think it's ideas of just being wanting to make it, like, well, I don't know, but I had this feeling like if I'm to live life, I really want to do great things. And then some people, you know, back then they used to say things like, you can never do anything, you can never make money unless you touch something, some charms. Okay, where I grew up from anyway, because mostly what they would see when a person blows up, you hear there are rumors. I don't know. There are rumors, they slept with the mother, they defiled the child, that's what those are the conditions. But I was like, you know, I'm going to make money and I'm going to do it God's way, you know. So I was like, but how am I going to start when also in my walk with God, I'm feeling like, you know, and all these things, like I said, when you look at your life, you discover that dots come together. So around the time I started working at, 2019, a friend of mine really exposed me to reading. So I started reading. Now, I started reading different things, you know, because also there was just this hunger and thirst for knowledge. I wanted to know, what is the truth? Is this Christian thing, even though I grew up in a Christian home and the likes, and I was actually saved, you know, but I was asking, is this the real deal, you know, like, let me search. So I started reading and all that. But at the end of the day, I wanted, how will this question be answered of why am I here? You know, and it was a long search. So I started searching. I came to a conclusion that, okay, if God created me, then obviously he has a plan for me, and obviously he knows some things about me. And I met a certain brother while I was working at Nampak. He had already like grown in the faith a certain way. So when I would talk to him, I would feel like some questions I had been answered. You get it? And it was very spiritual. He had the relationship with God and the likes. And I was like, okay, I need to model myself after this person. So there was a time we were having a conversation, and then he quoted a scripture to me, which is Psalms 86 verse 2. Psalms 82 verse 6, and the Bible says that, and ye are gods and you are children of the Most High. Now, all my life I never heard something like that. And it was like, that thing just held on to my heart. We are gods. What does this mean? And we are children of the Most High.
Yeah.
So I was so curious, how is God? If I am God, then how is God? And how is it the way I'm operating on this earth is not the way I was designed to operate, you know? And that really just put me in a place where I started searching. And that was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
The following day, I had gone to church, and at my parents' church that time, the preacher was preaching about something, and at the end of the service, he said that if there are some people who have backslidden, you can all come to the front. If you want to give your lives, rededicate your lives. And I just went. Now, trust me, that time I was doing everything. I wasn't like trying to say, oh no, let me clean myself up to see it.
Let's talk about the confidence. You said it was in your parents' church,
Yeah.
and you went to the front.
Yes,
you went
yes.
to the altar, and that's a different type of confidence. I know the people who they go to church and they make altar calls, and then you're thinking to yourself, how will this person look at me? How will my parents look at me? How will my friends look at me if I walk to the front? But I like the fact that you took the steps to go to the front.
Yes.
So that makes you different in that way.
Yeah, and can you imagine, my parents were elders in that church. My dad was even seated in the front.
Yeah.
But I feel like when it comes to a relationship with God, then you don't go to heaven because your parents also believed in Jesus. It's a personal decision.
Yeah.
Our walk with God has to become personal. You have to choose God. You have to choose to walk with God. So I really just went to the front. I was standing there. We said what I said. I spoke after them. Then they started praying for us.
Yeah.
You know, and in that moment, I just said that, okay, I'll pursue God. I'll pursue God, because I feel like there is a way. Okay, that same man who I met at Nampak, there was a way when he was talking, there's a wisdom he had, you know, and I was like, I need to carry this wisdom. I want, when I'm talking, it's coming out like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I did, when that altar call came, I rededicated my life, and I said that, Lord, I'll follow you. I don't know how it will happen, but we've started. So I didn't know how to stop certain things I was doing, you know, like smoking weed, you know.
No, that's another conversation. As I was saying, people will see you looking like this, but they don't know the backstory. So I want us to get candid, to get real, so that people can understand that these things do happen. As you said, sometimes a child does go prodigal.
Yeah.
But what matters is, does the prodigal son return? Exactly. Yeah. So I want us to get real. So just feel free. Let's embrace this platform.
Yeah, you know. I did that, and when I talked to the same person, I was like, okay, you can start with the Bible, start reading the Bible. So he gave me to start reading the New Testament. Yeah. So as I was working, I made the plan that every day before I go for work, I'll be studying a chapter in the Bible. And praise God, I was so consistent. Yeah. You know, like there was just this hunger for the Word of God. So I started reading about Jesus. You know, there's things that you can know about Jesus. Maybe you heard them from people, but reading it for myself, it felt so different. Yeah. You know, it felt, even though the way I understand the Word of God now and the way I understood it, there's been a difference. But I got to understand that, okay, so this person is to lead us to God. You know what I'm saying? And so I started. And eventually I discovered that that hunger for wisdom began, and knowledge began to grow. Now, this time it was not just for any kind of wisdom. I wanted that wisdom in the Word of God. Yeah. And the same man I met, I think he created a WhatsApp group, and sometimes he would just come and teach us the Word of God like that. And you'll be so inspired. This kind of revelation and truths and insight is bringing out, Lord, I want to get to this place. Even though I was struggling with some things here and there, but I kept at it. I started one chapter a day. And listen, if you are to walk with God, you have to, it's a process. It doesn't happen like in one time, boom, you know. So I started to even grow more spiritually. I said that every day I would wake up and pray at least for 10 minutes and do confessions. I had written some confessions in my diary from the Word of God. And I would wake up, do my confessions, pray, then study that one chapter a day. I was so consistent. And that's how we began moving. And I just discovered that I was getting deeper. The hunger for the Word of God kept growing. The hunger for the things of God kept growing. Now, began to change the way I talk. It began to change the way I saw the world. It began to change the way I relate with people.
Yeah.
And from there, I think I started dropping off some things, like that. All of a sudden, from nowhere, the desire to want to smoke just went.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand, And there's a name they gave me with that time.
Yeah.
I would because they used to say at there's the way I used to roll the blunts.
Yeah.
No, it's a journey. We said we're getting into it, right?
No, that's true.
And I also just began to see how the Lord began to move on me.
Yeah.
Sometimes what would happen is that we would smoke with friends. I were in a room, would smoke it. And all of a sudden, I'll start preaching.
You guys are high, but you're preaching to them.
And then, I don't know. I don't know where it used to come from. I don't know where it used to come from, but I just used to be shocked. I would inspire them so much. Like, guys, it's very possible, Just, I would preach to them like God is able to do anything. I would convince them, I was so convinced. So every time we're out of that room, and then I remember what I was just from doing. I'm like, but I'm not okay. But why am I preaching? It's it was such a funny experience. Anyway, looking back on it, I'm like, oh wow, that was good.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. At least now we got to understand where you came from, So we're still moving. So right now, let us just get into some of the things you are for someone who's out there looking at you. So who are you? What are some of the positions you hold? Where do you serve? Just so that the people understand who we're talking to now.
Okay, I'm Kundananji. I'm a child of God.
Yeah. First and foremost.
Yeah. I feel I believe that as a believer, I'm a child of God first before I'm anything. I'm a believer first before I'm anything. Yeah. So I serve in the capacity of right now in the CBU Fellowship. I'm the chairperson.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's for Household of Faith.
Yeah, Household of Faith Church, CBU Fellowship.
Yeah.
And also for the Household of Faith Church Kitwe branch, because we have a couple of branches in Lusaka and Kabwe and Chongwe and Livingstone. Move and Ndola. But for the Hof Kitwe, I serve as Vice HOD for the setup department. I also serve as the Vice Prayer Coordinator for the branch. Yes, and I also serve in Mass Choir. Mass Choir, I have no position. I'm just a worshiper.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so now I want you to share with me a personal testimony that deepened your faith.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want that one story that allowed for you to see the world differently, for you to hold on to God and say, I am walking with God.
Okay. My greatest that deepened my faith is when I studied the book of Job. It really did something to me. I felt sometimes it take God for granted. Because when I studied the book of Job, I understood the kind of thing Job had gone through, but he still chose to stick to God. Now that's something. And then I felt like I needed that same loyalty towards God. Like I need to be that loyal, regardless of what I'm going through or what I'm not going through. My loyalty will always be to God, And I studied, Job was so afflicted. Can you imagine? The Bible says that he was the richest man in his land. Now, imagine you are the richest man in the world, right? And then all of a sudden, calamity falls upon you. Now, and it also shows us that he had some influence in government and the likes. Now, in a day, all these things just come to a halt, like everything drops. It's like you've fallen from grace, you know what I'm saying? And more about it, on top of it, your children died. Your property is stolen and the likes. On top of it, your wife even now wants to leave you. Who you built all these things with, and then it only doesn't get there. He's now stricken with sickness. Like his body, he's got leprosy. Like he's got all these things. Like how can you even fight in such a state? But regardless of everything that he lost, he still chose to stick to God. And he said that it's better for him to die than for him to curse God. I think that's something. And looking at that holding on to God, I learned something. Because at the end of it all, I discovered that what Job was going through was a season. The Bible says that when he had gone all through that, the Lord even did 10 times more. God gave him 10 times more than he had even before he fell, or even before all those things. And that's just really, I discovered that Job is more righteous than many of us. Because like a little thing, school just then, you failed an exam, you went on PT, you feel like you need to stop this God thing, you know. But we have a whole person. Imagine your children have died. Everything, you are a billionaire, your fame has been, and on top, let me tell you, on top of it, his friends came and started accusing him that the reason why all these things have happened to you is because you are a sinner. Can you imagine? It's because you've done something wrong. So that's why all these things are happening to you. Because how can God does not allow these things to happen to people who are righteous. You are a hypocrite, you are a sinner, you are hiding some things. You used to do dirty things, that's why these things. Can you imagine that kind of embarrassment? But through it all, Job held on to these things. And when I read that, I felt like, bro, I've been playing with my Christianity. I felt like, of course, sometimes we can get to a place, I discovered that, no, I just wanted God for things. So it's like when things are there, it would determine how I relate with God, but it shifted my perception to, it's not about the things, but it's about my relationship with God. And that has to be maintained. And I feel like that's what really deepened my faith in God, and just really shifted the way I relate with God and the way I pursue God. Because I want to know Him.
No, that is... You've allowed for me to see things in a different light, you know? And now I'm here questioning like, hey, when you really think about... Because Job is a story that many of us know. But we've never thought of it in that light. You know? This man held on to God. And it takes someone of good character.
True.
You need to be confident in the God you serve for you to hold on to that God.
The question is, what did he know?
You know? So now that's interesting. I love that you gave us that little, you know, that little nugget right there. So let's keep on, you know, we're building up on your story. So Mr. Kundananji, you're also a student. What year are you?
I'm in 4th year actually. I had to repeat a, so I'm now in 4th year now.
So 4th year electrical
telecommunications
engineering.
Yes.
I love the fact that you said you had to repeat a year. So let us delve on that. So what is the biggest lesson that taught you that I don't want to call it failure, but the fact that you had to repeat a year, because we know it happens to many students. Many students are scared of it. Many students, you know. So could you tell us what exactly happened and how you came back from it and how you managed to walk through it?
Okay. So of course, I'll say this not to encourage that it's okay to fail or anything, but I feel like there are more superior things, and what you need to understand is that there is what I call the calendar of God for your life. The calendar of God for your life. Now, things might not always go the way you plan them to go. You might plan, but things might not go exactly the same way you planned. Of course, there will be sometimes a certain level of delay or derailment, but I discovered that, especially for believers, let me address first believers, is that all things happen for your good. You understand? Firstly, when that happened, there is a respect I lost for school. Because there's a respect I lost for school. Now, not because school is not important, trust me. When I'm done with my degree, I actually even want to do a master's. Exactly. But there's a respect, you know. I came to discover that how can school won't determine, because if school doesn't work, it doesn't mean the rest of my life is not working. Most people, when they go on PT or they fail a course, they feel like now all that will determine their future. I lost respect for school because I discovered that I had gone on part-time, but when I did that, I was shocked that I was still alive. I was shocked that I was still alive. I was shocked. I was like, hey, so they don't die. They don't die. And you need to know that as long as you are still living, there's still a plan for you. So there's a respect I lost for school in that I stopped. To some extent, I feel like, especially CBU students, they worship school.
Yeah.
They're willing to put anything on hold for school. They're even willing to sacrifice their relationship with God for school. And I was like, no, that won't be me. I won't be that kind of student. Yeah. Of course, that happened, but it made me realize that. But also, I began to look into myself, and I discovered that I'm good at other things apart from this same school.
Yeah.
I discovered that there are certain gifts God has given me. I like music. It was an opportunity for me to look into myself and develop certain gifts in me. Like, I started a business finally. Yeah. I said, when I was coming to CB, I said that in first year I'll start a business. In first year, I failed to start a business because I was saying I need to focus first on school. Yeah. On second year, I failed to start a business because I said I first needed to start. So when I went on part-time, I was like, it's an opportunity to even start a business. Yeah. I started a business, and I've learned a lot. Just that a year of being consistent in a thing, you can learn so much. Yeah. The point when I cleared, I'm able now to even do school, a business, and ministry even better. Yeah. So sometimes what happens when you go on part-time, it's not really that, of course, for some it might be an attack, but it's not always that is just to derail you or to delay you. It's actually an opportunity for you to even develop other gifts so that you can carry school and other gifts.
So in a sense, it's like it accelerated you.
Exactly.
So it didn't delay you, but it was an acceleration.
I feel like if that didn't happen, the kind of thing I'm able to do now, I couldn't have done it. Yeah. I could have still worshiped in school. Yeah. I was still putting things on hold because I want to pursue school. Yeah. But because that happened, I discovered that it's like I cracked the code. Of course, I still study.
Yeah. No, you have to. You have to. Don't stop studying.
Yeah. But I discovered that I can actually do school and do other things and be excellent in all of them. Yeah. So that it's not that I'm bound by school where I feel like school is a burden, but through that I began to even see that school was a blessing for me. You understand? Yeah. Because I began to have a more clear perspective of what God had in mind when He brought me here to do school. Yeah. He didn't just bring me here to just get a degree. He also came here. He also brought me here so that I can come and do other things while I'm getting that degree. Yeah. And I would encourage someone who's maybe on part-time and they are feeling bad about it. Trust me, look at things that you are good at. As you have, if you have those 3 courses, there are 3 courses. That means you have so much time on your hands. Do also other things together with those 3 courses. Yeah. By the time you clear that year, you're going in your next year, maybe where you have like 6, 7 courses, you discover that you'll be able to handle whatever you started together with the school, and there will be so much ease.
Yeah. So how did you get through the part-time? What are some of the things you did? What helped you through the part-time?
Okay. Funny thing, I discovered that when you're on part-time, it requires twice as energy when you're just on the normal year. First, let me tell you that. Yeah. It requires.
I actually want to agree with that. In a sense, I'm not speaking from someone who's been on part-time, but I know what it means to carry a course.
Yep.
Yeah. And once you carry a course, it requires twice as much effort
than the first
for that course. Yeah.
And if you're on part-time, it will require twice as much energy, twice as much focus.
Yeah.
So it will also just require twice as much zeal. Yeah. You have to pray for the zeal of the first year if you're on part-time. Because you can take advantage. You will feel like you don't need to go through certain things because you've learned them again. Yeah. But you need to remember that the reason why you didn't clear is because you learned the things but you didn't understand them. So it means just act like you'd never learned the thing again. And that's what really helped me when I understood that, this year was going to require twice as much effort, twice as much zeal. I need to push myself because sometimes you won't feel like attending a class because you did this lesson
like you already know it.
But I was still going, and I ensured I wanted to be so consistent in attending class. I was doing that and studying effectively. So when you go on part-time, also just evaluate. You know, there are many things quite right that can make a person fail.
Yeah.
It's not always that it's a lack of focus. It's not always that maybe they are not smart enough or intelligent enough.
Yeah.
I'm still smart.
Yeah, very smart actually.
But you know, there are circumstances. There is a principle I learned in the Word of God. The Bible says that if the axe is down, it takes much strength and much time to cut down the tree. But if the axe is sharp, it will take less strength and less time. So I discovered that when it comes to school, there is that need sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
Now, sharpening the axe, it can be both your spiritual, your mental, and your physical well-being. Because sometimes you find that you are dragging in school. But if you are able to sharpening the axe is where you've understood yourself well, and you use how you've understood yourself for your advantage, even when it comes to academics.
Yeah.
So you've understood that, okay, me, when I'm like this, I won't study, I'm just lying to myself. When I'm in this environment, when I haven't rested, I'm crampy, I won't study effectively.
Yeah.
Use those things you've understood about yourself for your advantage, even when it comes to academics. But also, if you're on part-time, it will require twice as energy. So meaning, you, the first time, you just need to study the lecture notes and go through past papers. Now that you're on part-time, go for class, study those lectures, answer questions now, do twice as much work as before, if you are willing to
No, I agree so much, because carrying a course is something, it taught me that the exact same thing you said, and you know, that's something that is reality. You find that when you carry a course, you even don't feel the need to attend that class like I've done it before. But trust me, you carry a course once, you don't attend class, you find that you also have that course again. You carry a course 2-3 times. Now, it's just on
I'm a burden.
You know what I mean? But like, if you actually get to a point where you understand that I need to do more for this same extra course, it will to make things lighter for you.
Very, 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 very much.
Now that is good. That is good. I'm glad we delved on that, because that's the reality of many students. Because people, low-key, as you said, they praise school. School is almighty.
They are God.
It's not even only the CBU, it's just the Zambian environment. When it comes to education, it is there. But then you get to realize that you can't do this education thing without God.
Exactly.
You can't do this education thing without your friends. I mean, you can't do it without your parents' support. So all these are things that should allow for you to go on. When you fail, it doesn't mean that it's the end of your life.
Exactly.
It's just tragic that recently CBU lost a student because there are speculations that it's because she felt that academic pressure. You know, but that shouldn't be the case. There are many other things that God has called you for. Than for you to just put all your eggs into school too.
Yeah. And I would like to address this. You know, you need to understand when you're doing school, it's not your life, it is part of your life. You need to understand that. So most people is like, when they come to school, it becomes their identity. Because I'm an engineer, that's why they even like titles. Why do you say Vinana performance engineer? So the moment they fail, it's like the whole world has dropped. It's them who's failed. Listen, and also, please take note of this. Failure is not an identity. Failure is an event. It's like when you're walking and you trip. It's not like you are crippled. No, it just happened that you tripped. That's how it is with failure. Failure is just an event. It's not an identity. The moment you take it as an identity, you fail again the same pattern you're on. Trust me. But when you begin to see it as an event, for example, like I said, when you fall, when you stand, you're like, how did I fall? So the next time you are on that crossroad again, or you are in that way, you see that pothole again, or you see that bump, you know how to avoid it because you've seen it as an event. When you see it as an identity, you are saying there's nothing you can do about it. That's just who you are. It's inevitable. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So failure is just an event. Listen, students, when you fail, trust me, when we graduate, it won't be showing on the face that you went on part-time or you carried the course. When so 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we're all making money, driving Fortuners, it won't be showing on your face like this. That, oh, you went on part-time. No? And for some of you, what you don't understand, sometimes God has to hold you back because there's something he's holding is kept for you in the future.
True.
A person, quite alright, you can feel bad that a person, some of your friends have proceeded, maybe, but you discover that the way God designed for you is that so you never struggle for a job. So your friend, him even proceeded, he's finished school, he's still looking for a job 2 years. You are in your last year, in term 3, they're already calling you for a job interview, but you went on part-time. So that's how life is. And also, you need to understand that when you reach a place where school feels like it's overwhelming, involve God. I'm not saying don't just involve, I'm not saying that involve God when it's just hard. It's okay to involve him when it's hard. But also build up that spiritual capacity so that when that evil day comes, you will know how to execute that. Trust me, we all have seasons where school is hard, but there are certain things we've learned to do in the spirit and in the physical for us to still prevail when school gets to that place. That's how it is. I really wanted to help the students with that.
I'm glad we delved on that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we delved on that. Now, you're still a student, huh?
Yeah.
So, I like saying, because you exist, there are many other people who go through the same things you go through.
True.
You see,
True.
So because of that, I want you to just, for that audience that goes through the same things you go through, or, that's kind of faces the same ordeals, or, situations that you go through, I want you to just tell us how you study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for me, when it comes to studying, I've learned, I think it's become easier now. I talked to my lecturer, I think it also helped me with that. I don't try to give myself so many big tasks, because sometimes the brain, the moment you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So what I do when we're having a topic, I go subtopic by subtopic. I think it helps me, because also it helps me in terms of to be able to connect information from where we are coming from.
Yeah.
So let's say I'll give a topic maybe in first year. You're doing kinematics, right?
Yeah.
In kinematics, of course, they start with concepts, definitions. What is speed? What's velocity? What's distance? What's displacement? Yeah. So in each and this, you find that there's subtopic displacement, and on that displacement, they define what displacement is, how to find displacement, how to derive formulas for displacement. So for me, when I'm studying, that day in my study session, maybe let's say, because I'll say that, okay, for this first study session in a day, I'll just focus on displacement. Nothing else. I won't try to give myself big targets, unnecessary, unrealistic. I'll just say that displacement. Now, the way it is that as humans, we like it when we get something done. When you are able to do a displacement, it will inspire you to want to do more.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned to hack my mind like that. And also another thing is when it comes for, listen, school is programmable, it's a system, and you can hack it. It's not unpredictable, you can predict it. So I try to take advantage of that. Secondly, I like to attend. For me, I advise people attend class. Personally, I like to attend class.
Yeah.
Even when I'm not understanding, okay, sometimes the lecturers and sometimes the classes were in Nakabashan. But I like attending class because when the lecturer is explaining stuff, it's like a roadmap for me on what I need to focus on when I'm studying.
Yeah.
Yes. So for me, that's how I study. And I study, even though I don't really, if you can manage studying for 6 hours in a row, go for it. But for me, I don't study that way. I break up my study sessions according to the target. So for example, I have maybe a weekly target in a course that I need to cover these topics up to these by Friday.
Yeah.
And then throughout the week, I'll be studying those things and other things around it. Maybe I've got an assignment, I answer an assignment. If I've got a test, I prepare for my test and the likes. But if I have set a target in a week, I need to meet it. So I study, maybe I wake up in the morning, I do an hour of studying. I bath, maybe if I don't have class, or I chill some, I do some meditations. I'll go in the library, another 2 hours of studying. Later again, I'll do an hour of studying. By the end of the day, I'll discover that I've actually studied for like 4 hours, 3 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that. As long as I know I've covered everything the lecturer is bringing, especially when it comes to tests. Study everything that they've told you they'll bring, and then try to go either 1 or 2 questions. As you grow higher, if you are maybe 5th year, 4th year, you can use experience, but don't try it at home.
Don't try it at home.
You can use experience, but past papers are really important. They show you also your knowledge gap, maybe in a topic. They show you what you haven't understood. And for when you go through a past paper and you discover that you haven't understood, you don't have to really go back to the textbook. Watch a video about the thing you haven't understood. That's the first way. So I think I use that a lot. When I try to answer questions in a past paper and I discover that I'm blank, what I'll do is that, okay, so what do they, I'll identify the topic they are asking me about and either use AI or use YouTube to learn about the concept.
Things have even become easier because of AI.
Yes.
Literally, you can get your assignments done. You can ask it, no, explain this concept to me like I explain it to a 1-year-old child.
Exactly.
And it's going to do that for you very articulately and you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that regard, I think, it's important to utilize the tools you've been given.
Yeah, true. And I think also what has helped me, because sometimes I feel like students don't have energy. I don't know this thing. Why are you people drained?
Yeah. No, students, I don't know if it's the environment when you're just a lot of you, now the energy just becomes contagious. When someone just says school is hard, that's the norm.
That's why I avoid hanging out with engineers. I always complaining, bro.
No, you know what? When you talk about engineers go through a lot. Engineers, I don't know if it just trickles down just from the lecturer, from the whole department. I'm so sorry, but the whole mechanical department, it's just from the electrical department. It goes down to the students, it goes class rep, students, to the last one who gets a C+. All of you are just drains. That's the problem. You know what I mean? That's for engineers.
In those classes, bro, there are things in those classes.
No,
I feel engineering classes, we need to start praying in them. There are things in those classes.
And I know it's true because you're not the only person who says that.
Okay.
A lot of people just saying engineering, I can't go there. I don't know what atmosphere is built there around the name engineering, But anyway, let's continue the conversation. Let's continue the conversation. No, it's good. It's good. Otherwise, for students, I also advise you guys to help each other in your studies.
True.
Yeah. Utilize the groups, utilize your friends, because you can't do this thing alone. Yeah. Ask where you don't understand. Ask where you need help. It's very important. No man is an island.
Amen.
Yeah. Now we're still moving on. We're still getting to know Mr. Kundananji Simbeye. Yeah. So Mr. Kundananji Simbeye is also an entrepreneur. I bet you heard him say, like, first year he wanted to start a business, second year, but when he was on part-time, he started a business. Now we're diving into that sector.
Look at the many things part-time can give.
Exactly. So don't take it as the end of the world, guys. It's okay. Let me not say I'm not promoting failure, but these things, if you understand that it's okay that these things happen, you get to understand that, okay, I can progress. It allows for you to know how to navigate through life now.
True.
Yeah, because it's just, as he said, tripping doesn't mean like you're crippled. It is just an event that you're crippled. I like that so much, and I feel like that one's going in my textbooks also. Okay. Yeah, I really love that because many of the times we attach our identity to the situation. Okay. When really it's not it. So with that being said, let's continue. He's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship. Yeah.
My favorite, one of my favorite topics.
Entrepreneurship. I'm not even going to ask you what started your entrepreneurship journey because it seems to me like from a child you've been working. Yeah, because you started working with your mom after school. Even during school, you would go to the shops.
When we closed school, and I used to feel like my parents didn't like me. Like I used to feel adopted. Like we would close, like we're waiting for December, and people are making plans of what they're going to do in December. Me, I know when December reaches, because it's actually even busy now.
No, but so I understand that this is something that has like been instilled in you from like young. You've been doing so many things, but like when you came to university, it became now your own thing. True. So now, what inspired you to start your business, and like, what was the motive behind? I want to have a business.
Okay, I discovered firstly, before I came to CBU, I was around that environment for business, and I think I've always liked it because I think every time from the time I was young, I'll be selling something. And in I think grade 11, 10, I bought my first big phone, an S3, Samsung S3.
S3, that's a long time ago.
So I had a phone, a Samsung doors. I
Yeah.
sold it. Now my mom that time used to bring in doors from Northwestern province.
Yeah.
So I had made like a 200, I think a 250, a 230 on the sale of that phone. I don't know how we would be able to sell a phone at 230, you know?
That's so crazy. Now in this day, it's thousands.
Yeah, you know.
Thousands.
And so I told her that, okay, since you are buying your doors, I also put this money so that you can also bring me about 2 doors.
Yeah.
Now the amount they are selling
Which doors?
like Mukwa doors.
Eh?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mukwa doors. And
The
then
doors for the door, guys. Like, why open and close the door? For
like
someone doesn't understand what mukwa doors are.
and that wood is for now they are even expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
They were selling. Mom was selling those doors at I think 650.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, between 500 or 650. So when they came in, the thing went fast.
Yeah.
And she even gave me my money. I
Oh.
was, yeah. And the moment I touched that money, that was like, I made money for myself, you know.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't even want to bother my parents about the phone.
Yeah.
I went in town, bought myself an S3,
S3.
Samsung S3. Also bought for myself Converse, and I think, is it easy boosts?
Yeah. Easy boost.
550.
350?
No, 550s. There were 550s that I think, yeah, I bought for myself. Trust me, I felt like a hustler.
Yeah, that feeling when you first buy something for yourself.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I really
know that
felt
feeling.
like a hustler. So from there, I've tried slippers before, even though I wasn't really consistent in that. So before I went on part time, like I said, when I came to CBU, actually, if you can tell or you can ask my sister and my mom, I used to tell me when I got to CBU, I won't even be calling you people. I'll be making money for myself.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, whoa.
It showed you something.
Yeah, but in 2023, I talked to certain guys in China at the moment, and he's doing a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
He set up an organization that offers people scholarships to China. He's also he's in the same electronics business, the kind of business I'm also in.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him. Then he told me there's a certain piece of advice he told me. He told me that, listen, if you are going into business just for a short period of time, I would advise don't find a job. But if you are going into business because you feel like if you treat it like a career, like you are willing to build it, you're willing to develop yourself while you're building it, then if you're willing to pay that price, well, you have to, the same way when you're building a career, you have to go to university. And he told me that if you're willing to do that, then go for it. I would advise.
You know, may I always tell my boys that business is like having a child, it's like pregnancy.
True.
If you are not willing to have a child, don't do the thing that makes you have a child. Because it's not going to be just those 9 months. I'm telling you. That's what I tell my boys. Like, business is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't want the commitment of raising a child all the way until you die, because that's your responsibility.
Exactly. A responsibility.
That is your responsibility. Yeah. That's why I tell them, like, business is like a child. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So 2023, and I think in 2023, I think there was just some I can say some issues I was kind of like having with my parents. So it's like they tried to hold the funds, you know, to some extent. So I was like, so what am I going to do about this thing, you know? So, and to make matters worse, when I went on the issue for part-time, it was really a big thing for them, you know, like, so I had to be like, I need to find a plan. So I was like, let me just start. You know, it was my birthday. I received some money. All that money, I put it in the business. Yeah. I started selling. I bought some adapters and the likes, and that's how we started. You know, because also I think just that. I don't know if you people like being broke.
Yeah, no one likes being broke.
Okay, so for me, for business, to some extent, I really didn't want to be broke, but also generally, I've always felt like God has called me in that area of business to build things. I really want that, like, even, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe there's a conviction in me, and I feel like from the time I was young until now, God has been training me in that area. Because every time I'm thinking about, it's hard for me to really think that I would like retiring, oh, one day I'll work until I retire. Like, of course, I'm open to working, of course, maybe to raise some funding, even that. But generally, I'm always seeing myself running my own thing.
Yeah.
From the time I was young, I've always seen myself building houses, I don't know, it's just been there.
Yeah.
And so it's, to some extent, I think that those events for the part-time just inspired me starting now, taking this business thing seriously. That's why I was saying that when I went on part-time, I began to pull out certain graces and gifts that God had given me. And I really started. And it's really been so much learning, because, of course, I've started, but I feel like I haven't started. Like, there's still certain, I'm still building the foundation, you know what I'm saying? So I think that the same brokenness, but also just that conviction that I've been called into the life of business, to be an entrepreneur, to build businesses, to bring in products on the market, to build systems.
When you speak of entrepreneurship, I think every person is called to be a manager of some sort.
Yeah.
Whether you're not managing a business, at one point you're going to have to manage your kids, you're going to have to manage your household, you're going to have to manage your money, you're going to have to manage every person. Yeah.
Exactly.
So to a certain extent, everyone is called to quote unquote entrepreneurship. You don't have to run a business per se, but like you have to build those qualities and
mindset.
Yeah. So with that, I like that we are talking about these things. Yeah.
Speaking of management, there's this thing people say that no, adulthood is a scam. I posted something and I was saying that one thing that I realized about adulthood is actually just a game of management. Yeah. Because when we grow older, the more responsibility is given to us. So the more it's like the more management capacity we need to begin to exercise when it comes to our money, when it comes to our own lives. Because now your parents won't come tell you that you go and bath, or you do this, you go and study the way they used to do it when you used to. Now you find that you have to learn to manage your time. You have to learn to manage your responsibilities. You have to learn to manage your emotions. You have to learn to manage every other thing around your life, your relationships. You have to learn to manage your girlfriend. I don't know if you have a girlfriend. You have to learn to manage all these things. And that's where, when we understand this, we begin to discover that adulthood will be very fun. Yeah.
Now that is true. That's why, to a certain extent, everyone is an entrepreneur.
Trust.
We just run different things. Others run a business. You probably have to run your household, run your emotions, run your time, run your finances, run your academics. So this thing where I say, no, I can't do business. Bro, you're already in business. The fact that you're alive, that is your business.
Life is business. Can you imagine even the Lord Jesus used to give many parables about business? I discovered this thing.
So, allow yourself to just tap into that area of your life. Once you understand that, it becomes easier for you to manage all these other things.
True.
So, Mr. Kundananji, so how do you, because we understand, like, we are in a changing environment. True. We're in a very changing environment. And being in business, I'm sure you've learned so many things, but how do you manage to stay innovative ahead of the trends for you to stay relevant in business? Because 2 years of running a business, we say it started in 2023? Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. So you have to find new ways to be innovative, new products, new ways to market. So how do you, let's just get into that.
I think consistent learning.
Yeah.
I love to learn. Yeah, I really love to learn. And I also like to ask questions. Just today, a certain friend of mine, I was having a conversation. She's also doing business,
Yeah.
And the things she was telling me, I've been doing business, and I was like, so I could have continued like this until we had that conversation, Yeah, so learn from people. Also, learn from people who've gone before you. Again, to stay innovative, I discovered that what inspires innovation is not really because you are smart or creative, it's passion.
Mm-hmm.
Passion, because you see, when you are passionate about what you are doing, you are willing to do what other people are not willing to do for that same thing. Yeah. For example, if you want to, you have a girlfriend, you love her, right? There are certain things you're willing to do for her that other people are not dating are not willing to do. So even when it comes to business, it's really about that. Consistent learning, have a passion of what you are doing. Don't, of course, there is sometimes it will demand of you to do it because you want maybe to have a back or something. But generally, be passionate about it. Treat your business like it's the best thing. If they buy from you, they are missing out from buying from you. Treat it like it's the best thing. And also for me, what has kept me, I'm open to customers, you know. A certain customer of mine was advising me on how I need to take pictures for the suits, you know, like, okay, so the way you've taken it doesn't give, so you need to take them like this, find this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, this is some solid advice, because you are getting it from a person who's willing to buy from you, but they're telling that, okay, if maybe sometimes it's the mercy of God. They're trying to tell me that, listen, the way you've done it, it's not, I don't feel like I'll buy from you. But if you do it this way, I'll feel like I need to buy from you. And you need to learn. So sometimes, actually, even build relationships with your customers. I would really advise that. Build a relationship with your customers where you are willing to get their input on what you need to improve in. So, consistent learning, be very passionate. I have an open ear. Also, copy from what other people are doing. Just copy it and just do it better.
No, that's true. I always say you don't really have to come up with something new, guys. You really don't have to come up with something. Sometimes you people beat yourselves up to say, I can't do this. It's already been done. What if you are the person to take it to the next stage?
Exactly.
You see,
Exactly.
And that's what it is. That's what this whole thing is about. So when it comes to, you talked about building relationships with your customers. But that is under the bracket of networking. So how has networking and mentorship played a role in your journey? Spiritually, academics, and in the business? Okay,
one thing that I'll always tell you is this: the first way to get to where you want to be is mentorship. So you see, there's the Lord Jesus said that use your worldly resources to build relationships. Imagine he was telling that we use money to build relationships, and so that in the day they will be able to remember you, or you will store yourself a reward. There will be a reward for you in heaven. So the first way to get to where you want to be that top student, to be whatever, to excel in your field, is mentorship. Identify people who are in that area that you can learn from. Personally, I discovered that when I started submitting spiritually, in a spiritual aspect, when I started submitting to my pastor and really committed to his teachings, I grew very fast. I grew very fast, because now also in mentorship you find that there's a certain level of accountability that you have. Before that, I never used to be consistent with business. I would start a sleeper business. If 2 months down the line I haven't really made the sales I wanted, I would abandon it. Now that I'm in mentorship, even if I have a product for 3 months, I can't stop, because the moment I stop, my mentor will come to me and, hey, that business you told me about, how's it going? And how can I explain? Because you see, if I'm not able to handle that, I believe there's certain things they can't trust me with. So generally, as people, like you said, you made the point that you are not an island. Trust me, you will need people. You know, not everyone is just a person. People are those. People. Sometimes what you need to understand, that what's just standing between you and your 7 years of prosperity is a person. There are certain things that might take 10 years for you to achieve. But when you meet the right people, you find that they will only take a year. And that should be your prayer, that you always encounter the right people. Trust me, networking is very important. Never, you know, this generation for where everyone is fake. No, I only reply to people who reply to me. I'm real, bro. You have a mentor who's got like 100 responsibilities. They are running a whole company. You can say such a stupid thing. I want to reply to someone who replies to me.
Imagine.
You can't say things like that. You can't say things like that. Even just certain friends. There are certain friends that are your age group, but of course you can even tell that they've gone a bit ahead of you. You can't say that I only reply to people who reply. It's because you can't build relationships like that. Sometimes you have to force yourself in people's lives.
That one. Sometimes just force yourself. But business and so on, especially in
business.
Put your pride aside.
You just have to go. Even if sometimes just go. Sometimes there are certain, for believers, there are some. Anyway, let me not go there. But you have to force yourself in people's circles, especially if you want to learn one or two things. Even if maybe at the moment you don't have the skill for it, just get the language, because and that's one thing. For example, as engineers, let's say if you're doing telecoms, there's a language when you're training to be an engineer. There's a language you begin to have. There's a way you talk about networks. There's a way you talk about all these things. Sometimes just surround yourself with a certain environment to just get the language. Maybe you might not even have the skill, but just the language. That will help you when you're around certain people. You find that maybe you are with big people. You find when they ask this question, because you heard it from somewhere, you're able to share. They will see you at this guy is smart. We can trust him. He knows what he's saying. But you just copied it. So force yourself in environment. Yes, because trust me, from where you are to where you want to be, it's people. That's just the gap that's there.
I always say positioning is everything. The environment where you are determines heavily the type of person you will be. And that's very powerful when it comes to students. Students were around so many people. We've got so many friends. We meet so many people in the hallways, outside the rooms. We meet so many people. But those people who you are around, they are the people. Those people who are in your circle, those little 5 people, those little 10 people, those people are the people who define who you are. They define what you do, they define what you say, they define
everything. Especially if you're doing business. I discovered in business there are layers, There are layers. So, and if you're doing business, you need to understand that your customer is more important than the transaction. You can have one transaction. Your desire is not just to win a sale, win a person, because that person can bring in other customers. You need to understand that. So, and for me, and I think that's really what has been a game changer for me in business. Whenever I'm doing a transaction with a person, it's not just about the transaction. I'm seeing it as an opportunity to establish a relationship. So, for example, here in this room, when I get something from someone, right? And then they come ask about it. Bro, where did you get this? Now I've got like 6 friends in my circle. And because of the way you make me feel when I bought from you, trust me, I'll always recommend you to my friends. You're like, okay, let me give you this line. 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 So every time you win a person in a transaction, you're not just winning a person. You've won other customers who are connected to them. That's how it is. And when your business is like that, there is a certain loyalty people have towards you. To the point where even when you sell clothes, people will be coming to you because I trust you. Do you know anyone who sells phones? Now, when you begin to see that and you find that because business you are providing a need, right? And you discover that, you started in the clothes business. Now, all of a sudden, you've entered the accessory business now. Why? Is because as you interacted and built those friendships, those relationships, you find that your demand grew, and so you could supply that demand. And that's how we see these big businesses continue growing. And then you, who's
that's cool.
The Lord has to help us.
You know one thing, you talked about, what's the thing? You talked about the power of continued learning. Like, you just love to learn. And I think that's something I want to zero down on. Because as a business owner, you can't just sit and say, I've started a business, now I keep on, now this business is going to sustain me. You have to surround yourself, go to those seminars, read those books. You see, attend, be around other business people, and that way, that's the fastest way your business can go.
Actually, it's important to be around other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. It's very, very much important.
That's true.
Because you see, also approach in business is different. But when you discover that your approach is not giving you the returns you need, check your friends who's doing the business, and you are seeing that, okay, for them it's working.
Yeah.
Ask them what they are doing, replicate it in yourself. And if you have those friendship, some of this wisdom, you have to pay for it, master class. But if you have connections, you have a network, you'll be getting wisdom for free.
True.
I've just given you a key. Force yourself in these friendships.
No, that's true. That's true. Go a big cup of it. Just put yourself there. Me, I've got a theory for myself. You feel me? I might not be all that, but the way I'll talk about myself is like I'm there.
Exactly.
And someone who will hear about me will be like, who's Bigwaz? Who's Mwanza? What's this podcast? The number one podcast in Zambia for students. And
Real.
You know what I mean? And just because of that, it allows for me to be in these rooms. I get people who recommend me, oh no, my friend does a podcast called that. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
You see, so just be confident in yourself. Put yourself out there. You see,
yeah, confidence. I feel like, you can't get people to be a fan of you if you're not a fan of yourself.
True.
You need to be so convinced about yourself, like you are the best thing in the world. And trust me, there's just a way. Confidence draws people.
That's true.
Confidence draws people. Trust me. If just talk about yourself like you are the best thing in the world, like you are the best thing. I'm not saying be proud. I'm just saying talk about with so much affirmation, with so much assertiveness that when people look at you, they'll be like, okay, but there's something this guy knows.
Just a couple of days ago, I was giving a talk with our society, the Society of Aeronautical Engineers, had a meeting. So I was giving a talk on like project presentation, and I zeroed down on confidence, because confidence is one thing that I always give an example of my friend Chipamba. Bro, he's got so much confidence when he's doing his project presentations. It starts just from his outfit. You can see that this guy is exuding confidence. Whereby lecturers ask him, are you a student leader? But the guy is just a guy. You know what I mean? That's the power of confidence. So believe in yourself. Have that confidence in yourself, and know that if I talk about myself like this, I'm able to deliver in that way.
Yeah. Confidence is a big thing. Even when it comes to pursuing ideas, sometimes you just gotta be confident.
You really have to be confident. Because let me tell you one thing: no one knows how an idea is going to be. No one knows the end. You feel me?
Real.
Those people who start to do things, they're just confident in the idea. No one knows the end result. That no, I'm going to make money. I'm going to make sales.
What if you make a loss? But you're rather confident.
I'm telling you, that's how it is. That's why I said, even if this podcast gets one view, I'm still going to post it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
It's the best thing.
That's the thing, you feel me? Because why? At the end of the day, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I know it's out here giving value to people.
True.
You see, and that's another thing. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. And speaking of confidence, I discovered that what differentiates two people. It's one who stands out and one who doesn't stand out is confidence. There's a saying that it's not about how smart you are, it's about how bold you are. That's how it is. For example, do you know people like Steve Jobs? Those people weren't really like, of course, maybe he was a great leader, an innovator, but that one was confident, bro. Yeah. And you can see most billionaires will begin to see this, even though they are geeky, like, like
I'll tell you,
Mark Zuckerberg, but the way they talk about their products.
You see, you see Elon Musk. Elon Musk is so confident in his Tesla, but if you look at the guy's personal life, you get to realize this guy, he stammers, he's got ADHD, and they're like, what? How can such a person do this? How can such a person head such a company? It's the confidence he has in the product himself.
True.
He's the person who believed in electric vehicles before anyone else.
Exactly.
And now they've come to fruition.
It requires so much confidence to build anything.
It's confidence. Steve Harvey had the stammering problem, but he just said, "I'm going to be talking. Even if I start, I won't stop. I'll keep on talking." And now he's one of the most acclaimed speakers out there.
Wow.
You see,
I hear you.
So that's something that confidence does. Confidence actually makes you confident.
That's how it is. I like that. Confidence makes you confident.
Yeah, if you have confidence, you will be confident.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to be giving yourself confident booster exercises. And like I said, door-to-door evangelism, door-to-door census mapping. I think there's a confidence it put in me. There's a level of confidence where I feel like I can talk to anyone. Whether it's the president, whether it's a billionaire, there's just something I feel about
I love that about myself. But who knows? Next episode you might just see Mr. HH here. And I'm going to have a conversation just like this, what I mean? I'm going to dress like this with a silver chain because that's why I am confident in my abilities. You feel me?
True.
I'm confident in the words I speak.
Exactly.
That's how it is.
And also it just spells conviction.
True.
That you believe in what you are and you believe in what you are doing,
Belief is a really powerful thing. Belief is a powerful thing. Because I said if Jesus never believed in the cause he came for, he would have died for us. But he believed, he knew that, okay, I'm dying so that these people can be saved.
Exactly.
And that's what belief does. It takes you to a point of the cross. If you truly believe in something, you go to the cross for that thing.
Exactly. You're willing to die for it.
That's how it's supposed to be. I know it's important. And he talked about confidence booster exercises. So what are some of those things,
So
on a personal level,
always make it a point every day you're taking a walk or you're going somewhere to greet a stranger and ask their name. Just do that and ask them. Just ask questions. Always make it a point, because of that. And also, if maybe, for example, some of you are probably have gone ahead, like maybe you're in third year, you're in fourth year, you're in second year. There are a lot of first years. Whenever you see someone, a first year, you can tell this is a first year. It's a big bag, big ones. They haven't yet. It's a big laptop bag. How they should have a first year. So you can tell. So what you do, and you need to know that there's something that you have that they need. So sometimes what happens when maybe there's a spot sometimes I like sitting. When I notice there's a first year there, I'll go greet them, introduce myself. I'm Kundananji. Oh, you're in what year? I'm in first year. Oh, that's amazing.
It becomes easier to talk to them because you understand that I've gone further.
And I make it a point to leave them with something that I've learned while I'm in CBU. Now, you know what that does? If you call me now at come, you speak to first years, because I've been doing it consistently. It won't be a hard thing.
True.
It's a walkover because I've been building that confidence where I always feel like, I've got something you benefit from. Even if you don't realize it, even if you don't know, even if you don't see it like that, but just knowing what I've told you and applying it, you will learn something. You will see your life will go a certain way.
That's true. For me, a confident booster exercise that every one of us, if you're watching this, you probably have a smartphone. Post yourself. Take a photo, post yourself. That's a confidence booster exercise. You people say, no, I'm a private person, you're insecure.
I don't take pictures, you just think you're ugly.
True, you feel me? For a confidence booster exercise, post yourself, allow for yourself. People, listen, the Bible says, if you have a candle, why would you put it under? You feel me? So if you feel yourself you're a light, put yourself out there.
Take a video.
Hi guys, these are my, hi guys, I just want to post myself, just say hi to you. Just do those things. Post a picture of yourself, put a nice caption under there. That is one way to start building your confidence.
Actually, that's very good. I remember we were having a conversation, there was a night we were having a conversation and you were telling me that, bro, you actually have got something to say to people. You need to start recording yourself. Now that you've said this, I think I'll start doing that.
Exactly.
I'm putting that in my tools for confidence boosting.
Exactly. Because the moment I started to post myself, I become confident in how I speak. Even when I'm walking outside in the hallways, I'm more confident because I've said, wow, they've already seen me, so I have nothing to hide. If I'm ugly, they've seen that I'm ugly, right? So just post yourself. That allows for you to be more comfortable in your own skin.
True.
True. This has been an amazing conversation. But still, just as we conclude, it's clear now to everyone that you're a man who's multidimensional. You're a man who exists in many dimensions. You're a man who exists in the spiritual, in academics. You're doing all right. in your businesses, you know.
So when you start hearing music,
In music, you see, huh? In music, in friendships, in relationships, you've done all these things, yeah? So my question to you is, how are you able to balance and be able to do all these things?
Priority. I think the principle of prioritization is very important. You know, you see, when you have that sense of priority, even in your friendships, it will begin to overflow.
True.
For example, if I call my friend right now, of course, sometimes I'll call them to check up, but you discover that every time I'm calling them, it's such a conversation that I want to draw from them, but I want them to draw from me. And I really love that every time I'm talking to someone, it's either go back a different person or they go back a different person. It's priority. So I won't waste time on mundane conversation. I won't waste time on things that don't build, you understand? And then on the other hand, you see, you need to understand that responsibility goes beyond ability. I'll give an example of a father, you know. A father has got a responsibility to provide. So even when a father wakes up that day and feels like doesn't want to go to work, but because he's got a responsibility of providing for his wife, for his children, he will still go. So for me, it's like that. I have a responsibility. So even whether I wake up, I feel like studying, I feel like not studying, I have a responsibility to still study. I have a responsibility to still go for fellowship because I have a responsibility and I have to fulfill it. Whether I'm feeling like it or I'm not feeling like it, I just have to go. And I think that's what has helped me. Also, the Bible says that come to me, all you are heavy laden and burdened, and I'll take upon my yoke and I'll give you rest. I discovered that the more responsibility I had, the more rest I began to experience. Especially in the spiritual aspect, just on my own here, like academics, other things, pushing businesses. It's like the more I did things, you know, even my sleep, I enjoy my sleep. Like I don't dread sleeping, you know, like I enjoy it because every time I'm sleeping is like a reward for all the work that I did during the day. You know what I'm saying? So responsibility, priorities. Because for example, if you are, of course, in a spiritual aspect, you are leading a department, you are leading a fellowship. Of course, your spiritual life has to be at peak. You know what I'm saying? You have to maintain a very close relationship with God. And all that is part of responsibility. There are many times you are so tired, you feel like not praying, you know, but you drag yourself. You are there. And what I discovered that every time I did that, I felt more refreshed. I would discover that 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the prayer, I'm feeling like I'm just from waking up. You know what I'm saying? You need to understand that when God begins to give you responsibility, also begins to provide with you the strength and the grace to handle everything. So for you, your 24 hours is like it's stretched. It feels like 48. You know what I'm saying? And also it begins to give you a certain level of peace, focus, and accuracy to do things. You find it's not, I don't have this where I feel like my mind is clogged because I'm focused on the kind of responsibilities I have. Before I sleep, that's what I think about. When I wake up, that's what I'm thinking about. So already, it's like even before I start my day, my mind is already in the activities I'm doing for the day. So as I'm waking up, I'm already in the job. I'm already working on this. I'm already asking for reports this side. Have you done this? Have you done this? You know what I'm saying? And eventually I discovered that, oh, I've actually done everything that I planned to do. On top of it. And I make time to chill with people in the room. You know what I'm saying? I make time to be available for every important meeting. I make time to be available for class, unless maybe I've just woken up late sometimes. The morning classes, you know.
It happens to the best of us, actually. It does.
But overall, I think that is what has helped me. And there's a principle I learned. I know maybe most people, we've talked about time management, but I discovered that there's a superior principle, or personally, anyway, whatever you think, personally, there's what I call task management. Now, time management is, of course, apportioning times to do specific things at specific period of times. And now, when you're in a setup, maybe where you're doing ministry or you're in business, especially when you're starting out like us, you discover that sometimes you don't have that luxury where you can just do things in the time that you set it for you to do it. Sometimes what happens, you're in class, you're talking to a client. No, this suit didn't fit. No, I need a pouch. I need a glass screen protector. This cable is not working. That kind of conversation. So we find that I discovered that the principle of task management says that forget about time, but because before I've woken up, before I sleep, or before I do certain things, I need to ensure that I've done all these things. And so you're not going by time, but you're going by task. So you begin to prioritize what's important at the moment, what's urgent at the moment, what's important and urgent, and what's not important and not urgent. So, for example, today is a Tuesday, and today is a Sunday. Tomorrow I plan that I want to go and wash, right? Maybe in the night I say that I'll wash. Tomorrow I'll wash on Monday But when I wake up in the morning, I discover that, okay, a client needs something, and it's important, and it's urgent. I know, of course, washing my clothes is important, but if I still have clothes that are clean, that's not important on that day.
It's not urgent.
And it's not urgent. I can put it off so that I can handle this task that I'm doing. So even when it comes to academics, I discovered, in this course I'm very behind. I need to touch it. And so I that's also how I started task management, where I have to ensure that every task that I have in that day is done, both for the present and for the future. And so you plan, you have days, you have days where you do those things. So task management. So I would advise every day, especially maybe if you want to be a progressive person, listen, never just go about life like the wind or like the way the water follows the drainage. No, plan for it. So let's say you are a student, you've got academics, you've got, maybe if you are doing ministry, if you are doing a podcast, you've got a podcast, and other things you want to do. I know you've got shop it, you do shop it. So you said, okay, in task management, what you're saying that tomorrow I need to do 3 important tasks that at least I will say this, shift the needle in my favor every day. So for example, of course, when you wake up, you know, okay, I've got a podcast, I need to post. That's a task. So in task management, you said, I've ticked off this task. It's done, it's out of my mind. So, okay, I've got a test on Wednesday, so I need to study for my test. So when you do the posting of the podcast, you do that, you focus on the studying of your essays. So I'll study maybe for 3 hours, for 2 hours, for 4 hours, and then at least I prepare my test to a certain extent. That task is done. You're remaining with one more task. I remember you said you are learning French. If or maybe let's say you've got a shop it order, you get it. So that's also another task. So you find that. So you set your day according to order of priority and according to what's urgent and what's important. So for example, you know that for you, sometimes when it's after a certain time, you don't like touching your phone. The first thing, especially doing business, as you are doing business and you need to post, that's the first thing you need to do in the morning. Because if that time passes,
it's hard for you to find time to just sit and post each and every product you have.
Exactly. So you manage your tasks, that especially when you know that if you can do a task in 2 minutes, do that. Especially in the morning, for example, posting is 2 minutes. Me, I've even created a cafe that's business. This is where I put pictures for the business so that. And for me, I reuse the same kakao now. Because why am I stressing myself? I need it to be as easy as it can be. And then when I'm done with the posting for my business in the groups, on my status, on Facebook, I can now focus. What's the other agenda of the day? Okay, so today we're having evangelism. I've got an evangelism coordinator. I talk to them. Organize yourselves. Let's push people. Let people register for evangelism. You know what I'm saying? That task is done. Okay. What else is remaining? I've done those tasks where when I'm studying, I'm thinking about them. You get it? Then, okay, now I just need to go and bath and focus on studying. Then I'll go. So task management is very important. It will put you in a place where you know it's 23, you need to sleep, but you discover that you haven't studied. No matter how tired you are, you still go and start.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Kundananji Simbeye. Guys, we've had a really amazing conversation. Yeah, so as we come
enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been really good, you know. There's so much we can talk about. You know, this conversation can go on for on and on and on, but we only have a limited time here.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching the Change Your Perspective podcast. Don't forget, with me, I had Mr. Kundananji Simbeye, and I'm your guy, Musonda, Bigwaz.
Oh, yes.
5th year aeronautical engineering. Thank you so much, Mr. Kundananji.
Thank you so much. You know, I enjoyed myself here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I look forward to coming back. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. Also, if you are watching this, post it. Listen, post it on your status. If you feel like you are learning and drawing from such a platform, it's very important that you also allow people to be blessed by it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you watch it, you feel like there's a clip that has blessed you, a part that has blessed you. You know, do the needful. Post the link.
Yeah.
Let your friends hop on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Post in that school group by mistake or that business group by mistake.
Yeah.
You know, let people subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
Let people also draw from the value you've drawn from.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It's been an amazing. I actually felt like I was being interviewed, you know. No, but it's been so good. So thank you so much once more. Till next time, guys.